Hi there, this is Andy Young. I'm one of the automotive lecturers down at Unitech in Auckland, New Zealand, and welcome to my Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. Now, today is New Year's Day 2017, and I really wasn't expecting to be in the workshop, but I am so close to getting 1,000 subscribers, and I wanted to check on my PC what was going on and whether we'd hit that target or not. And unfortunately, the power supply for my monitor, which is, I don't know, probably made in China, no idea, has died. But there is hope. As long as we can give the monitor 12 volts DC, 4 amps, it'll work. And I can check my YouTube channel and see where we are with the stats. Now, as you all know, a car battery will do that, but I happen to have a 12 volt transformer, which will happily kick out at least 4 amps. So that's why I'm in the workshop, and I'm going to make that work. But I just wanted to make a really short video to say Happy New Year to all my subscribers, anybody that watches my channel, and also to all those other fellow YouTubers who have their own channels and have supported me through these last 12 months. This has been really the first 12 months of the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. It's been a tremendous journey for me. There's about 230, 240 videos that I've managed to, churn's are probably the wrong word, but produce, you know. And for you guys that also have your own YouTube channels, and there's Ivan out there, and Steve, Rob, and all the other guys that do the automotive stuff, you've provided me a tremendous amount of information and entertainment. You know, I actually find your channels really interesting to watch, and you've made me feel so welcome within YouTube. All the help and support, there's no negativity. Even the viewers, you know, I used to be really concerned at the start putting up videos and to get a dislike to one of my videos, but it doesn't matter. You can't please everybody, and you look at the number of likes that you get, and man, it far outweighs the dislikes. It doesn't matter, you can't please everyone, and I take it as constructive criticism. So say what you like, I really don't mind. All that can happen is I can try harder and do better. So I really have no idea what 2017 holds for me or the Andy Mechanic YouTube channel. All I will say is more jobs are going to come in, and no doubt I'll be working the tools and fixing the faults. And obviously the scope of the videos that are up on the channel is going to increase. Ultimately, my goal is to have a channel that is going to evolve, where I can start to include more of what I like to do, not just what I can do, what I like to do. And I like to go off exploring and ride motorbikes around the world and visit different countries and that kind of thing. And my ultimate goal has always been to ride around the world on a motorcycle. Now sure, it's just, at this point in time, it really is just a pipe dream. There's no way I can afford to do that. I've got 3 kids, a wife, a dog, 13 motorcycles and numerous cars and stuff, all to support. So it's just not going to happen. But as the YouTube channel grows, and 12 months in, just a quick stats thing, and I'm not going to bother doing all the graphics and things, it just bores people, I think. But 12 months in, we're up to 720,000 minutes viewed, which for me is, you know, I'm really chuffed with that. Views, I've no idea, I can't remember, but it's lots. It's lots and lots. We're about 30,000 views a month now. Revenue, dirty word, I know, but it does help. We actually got a $5 US yesterday, so cool, really good. But it does, you know, I didn't post hardly any videos during middle of November to middle of December, and sure, it did affect the number of views and the number of minutes watched, but not by very much. And I was quite relieved at that, because I just didn't have time. I was far too busy marking and getting the end of the course finished over at Unitech. But now it's summertime, and I really am head on getting vehicles repaired. What's coming up? Oh, we could make this a what's coming up thing. Okay, let's do that. What's coming up for 2017 for January? Well, remember the Ford Falcon, the straight 6 Ford Falcon that I did the water pump on? Well, that's now in, just went out yesterday to check it out, and it needs a new power steering pump. That's what the customer's asked for. That's what he's going to get. I don't actually have the diagnostic gear. I don't have a pressure gauge that I can plumb into the system. So it's the diagnostics is all done really by what the problems are and the symptoms that the customer's been experiencing. And from what he's been telling me, it sounds to me like his pump's burnt out. So not giving much pressure. Maybe it's the pressure relief valve that's stuck open. I don't know. But once I've done the switch and fitted the new pump, then of course we'll bring the old pump back to the workshop and we'll pull it apart and see if we can find what the fault is. I sincerely hope it's not going to be the steering rack, because that's going to be a huge chunk of money after he's already replaced the pump. What else? Well, there's lots more Yamaha Viking and Grizzly videos coming your way. I actually want to start this summer working on my own quad bike. Now, you've not seen this yet, I don't think, apart from maybe in the background on some shots. I have a Yamaha, what is it? Yamaha, it's not a Warrior, it's a Raptor. A Yamaha Raptor 350cc rear wheel drive quad bike. Now, it sort of fits into the category of what I would say it's the equivalent quad bike to an enduro motorcycle. Maybe. Some people would argue with that probably. It's not a race quad, it doesn't go fast enough. It's not a farm quad, it doesn't have four-wheel drive. So it's more just a recreational, fun, reliable, not competitive kind of quad. Service intervals are miles apart. And that's a good job, because I haven't worked on that quad bike for about 4 years. It's just been sat in the garage, pulled out, chuck a battery on, got it started, gone around the paddock for an afternoon, had fun with the kids, parked it up, left it. And it needs a complete strip down. That's going to be engine out of the frame, everything off the frame, get it shot blasted, repaint, rebuild the whole thing back up. So there's going to be a multitude of videos, and I'm pretty confident that lots of the bushes and bearing sets are going to need to be replaced. So all that will be done to camera. The engine itself, I think it's okay. The carburetor, yes, it is carbureted, that's how old it is. That's probably going to want to strip down and clean up, and obviously there'll be valve clearance videos and that kind of stuff. Plus a chain and sprocket swap, that's knackered, and I know the rear wheel bearings, the rear axle bearings will be shot, and I've already got some new ones in stock. Some old balls, not genuine Yamaha, unfortunately. So there's all that to do. We've got Ben's TDR oil pump strip down, rebuild, calibration to do. That's about the last video to do on his TDR. The bike is now back on the road, and yes, it's doing great. Really chuffed with that. What else? Well, we've got an old Honda Dominator that we pulled apart. Those Honda Dominators have an inherent problem. It shares the same head as the XR 600s, I think it is, or XR 500s. I can't remember. But they crack the cylinder head, and of course when that happens they start to suck a bit of air in, there's a bit of compression, and they get an erratic idle. That's the symptom of that. And sure enough, Ben's Dominator does have that problem. I did a ride a few years ago around the South Island on it, had a fantastic time, but that bastard bike would never idle properly. 1 minute it'd be revving its nuts off, the next minute it would be stalling on you. And the only way to ride it was on the stop. Then it was fun. Other than that, with it not being, the electric start didn't work either. So every time it died, I had to kickstart it, and I was not a happy bunny. So I did sort of take it out on the bike. So the engine is stripped, top end is stripped at least, and Ben's ordered some valves, gaskets, that kind of stuff. And I've got to remember how to put that damn thing back together. Obviously I'll need to find a manual, but we need to get it back together, get it running, and get it sold. We've also got an old Suzuki, I think it's called an LS400. It's a single cylinder 4-stroke cruiser that Suzuki made for many, many years. Super low seat height, really good. Unfortunately, I allowed it to get deregistered, so I've got to go through the certification process. So what I'll probably do is a video on how to get a motorcycle recertified, because here in New Zealand, because that's quite an important process. And it's man, it's not cheap either. It's about $600 to $800 depending on how much work needs to be done. And if you need to replace parts, put all those on top. Now this is an old bike, and realistically it's not really worth doing, but I'm a biker and I hate to see motorcycles go to scrap. So I'm tempted to get that sorted out. What else have we got? Well, during 2017, I'm not too sure when it's going to happen, but we have got a DT230 trail bike, another one of Ben's bikes that he's blown up. It isn't just a top-end rebuild, that's going to be a crank swap as well. Now, we might get away with just fitting a rod kit, splitting the crank, changing the big end bearing and the pin, pressing it all back together, and then doing a top end rebuild. Not too sure. It might have to have a crank. Basically, what happened is hot spot on the piston, blew a hole through the piston. It's a two-stroke engine, by the way. Blew a hole through the piston, sprayed the big end with molten aluminium, got into the bearing, seized the bearing up. The bike locked up, back wheel locked up, and Ben was very fortunate not to go under the truck that was behind him. He managed to just to say get off the road with his locked up rear wheel, and yeah, it wasn't a pretty sight, to be honest. He was a bit shaken by it. That happened a few years ago. So it's about time. Now we've got the TDR out of the way, he wants to focus, after the Dominator's thrown back together and got rid of, he wants to focus on rebuilding that DT, because it's a really cool little bike, actually. He really enjoyed riding it, and he does like his two-strokes. And again, we're not going to let it die. It has to be fixed. And of course, there needs to be some more work done on the WRs. We did the Desert Storm trail ride a couple of months ago. The bikes have been put back in the garage, and in all honesty, they haven't been touched, other than being washed a couple of times. So we've got a bit of work to do on that as well. Anyway, so I don't want this to go on too long. Just really want to thank all my viewers, fellow YouTube channel people like Steve Robb and supporters, and Ivan and everybody else out there, Badgertronics, all those people that have given me advice over the last 12 months to help to build my channel. Now, I try to make my channel unique. It comes from a different angle to most, but together, all of us, I think, provide a really good all-round kind of automotive repairs. Encyclopedia is the wrong word, but you know, a reference somewhere where people can go and find out the information they need, because I really begrudge people paying the amount of money that they do pay to garages to get their cars fixed. You know, my students say to me, new cars are better, aren't they, Andy? And I'm really not sure if they are. I mean, you know, the running costs of a modern car, you know, 2-3 years old car, is far, far more than the running costs of an old 1980s car, you know, or a late 80s, early 90s car. You know, nowadays manufacturers are going towards LED lamps and so on, and the LEDs are molded into the plastic headlights. You get those little halo lights and stuff on the Beamers and the Mercs. I think the Audis, they've all got them now. And already here in New Zealand, I'm seeing those LEDs burning out within those light clusters. And, you know, the warrant regulation is here that 70% of the LEDs must be operational for each particular light in that light cluster for it to be a pass. And I'm seeing loads of Volkswagens, loads of Audis, maybe not so many Mercs, Beamers as well, where these LEDs are burning out. And now, in the past, if a bulb goes, you just get a new bulb, fit it in, and it's a few dollars and it's fixed. That's not the case with these LED headlights and taillight units. You're going to have to buy a new unit, and those are really, really expensive. Sometimes hundreds of dollars, Range Rovers and stuff, thousands of dollars. So how can a modern car be cheaper to run? People just, modern buyers, they buy stuff because it looks nice, you know, and sure, it's all plush and it's quiet when they drive somewhere and things, but in response to my students' answer, if you want a cheap transport and you want something that's cheap to run, sure, it might use a bit more fuel, but everything else about it is a lot cheaper. Go for the older car. You can fix it yourself, and you don't really need any real complex diagnostic equipment either. But that's just my rant over. Fortunately, motorcycles are still reasonably basic at the moment, but again, they're getting more and more complex. We're getting traction control systems. Obviously, we've had ABS on motorcycles for about 10 years now, but it's here in New Zealand, again, it's turning out to be pretty much all the LAMS approved, all the learner approved motorcycles now, from Yamaha especially, have ABS. Well, next thing is they're all going to have traction control as well. That's going to come in pretty quick. That DT230 of Benz, which is like 15, 20 years old, that had a very rudimentary form of traction control on it when you're in first gear. Bizarre. Obviously, it's evolved a lot more now. So, there you go. Rant over. Happy New Year. Looking forward to the next 12 months. Looking forward to seeing how my channel progresses. Really looking forward to the episodes that you guys are going to produce as well. It's great fun being part of YouTube. Thanks YouTube for producing something for all of us to really collaborate with and have fun and sort of do our own thing. Cheers crew, over and out.